This isn't a sponsored message. It's just what's worked for us. At the Southland Development Authority, we've been using Bill.com for the past 5 years to handle our invoicing and payment processing. For a small but growing organization like ours, it's been a game changer, saving us time, keeping us organized, and making sure payments go out and come in smoothly. It's simple, reliable, and cost effective. Most importantly, it's freed us up to focus on the work that really matters, serving our community and growing our impact. If you're looking for a better way to handle payments, Bill.com has been the right fit for us. What do you do when the world shuts you down? If you're Terry Nouri and his brothers, you build one of the fastest growing men's grooming brands in the world. In today's episode, Terry shares how Level3 went from a kitchen table idea during COVID to a global lifestyle brand, and the scrappy strategic moves that made it possible. Whether you're a founder, a marketer, or a dreamer, you'll take away lessons on scaling, staying authentic, and thriving under pressure. Welcome, and thank you for coming today. We're really excited to have you. Just for the benefit of the listeners, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Level3.
My name is Terry Nouri. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Level3, also a co-owner of the brand. Level3 is a lifestyle men's brand. We are specializing in the barbering category, where we offer a full catalog of A to Z products that service all barbershops in the U.S. Actually, right now we're in over 40 countries worldwide, actually. So we specialize in that sector, to where we want to offer quality products at an affordable price to really everybody there.
That's great. I, unfortunately, am not in the same need of hair care products as I used to be, but my kids are. So my son, he will need this. So thank you for that. And tell us a little bit about how you started Level3 and some of the other types of businesses that you've worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a kind of a cool story how we started Level3. It's been a COVID baby, we could say. It was born in the COVID era, which was really cool. But before that, we were in the distribution business of cosmetics. So we started almost in 2012 approximately, out of our van, me and my two brothers going door to door to barbershops, selling products to just any barbershop we can really pull up to.
Wow.
And we started in Chicago. We would go street by street here, down on Michigan Avenue, on Wabash, on State. We did all the streets you can think of.
From mixtapes to platinum albums,
everything
basically.
you can think of. It's crazy, honestly. The history is nuts. And then we would each attack a state. So I would go to Texas. My brother would go to New York. My other brother would go to Florida. And our goal was to not come back with a bottle in our van.
There you go.
And you come back to Chicago, we load up, you hit up the next state. And that's kind of how we started gaining accounts and came back to Chicago, opened up a little warehouse, opened up a little website, started, calling everybody, because we can't drive to everybody all the time.
Right.
Customers started calling us, hey, I'm in Florida, I'm on my way back from Texas. And it was pretty funny story. But that success kind of us then establishing that warehouse and being able to start hiring a couple people there to maintain accounts. We started adding in more products into our lineup. But then when COVID hit, we started realizing there was a shortage of supply chain in the industry, because we didn't own our own brand. We never had a brand. We were just buying products from different companies. So that kind of gave us the like a aha moment, light bulb, to where we had 6 months of free time me and my brothers never ever had in our life.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, we
Everybody
gotta go
did, yeah.
set up shop. We went down to Turkey. We stayed about 6 months in Turkey, where we literally were in the factory developing almost 60-70 different items that we put our brand on and shipped it over to the US and launched it in November, in Thanksgiving of 2020.
Now, how did you come up with the name Level3? And
So
what does it mean?
At Level3, well, one, we are three brothers. So me and my two brothers. The number 3 has always been around us as a good luck charm,
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything we look at, it's 3. You look at your time, it's 333. Our
Right.
license plate is 3. So it's pretty crazy. And then second thing, most importantly, it was trademarkable. So we did our research
That's
on making
surprising.
sure it was trademarkable, which was to our surprise as well.
Yeah.
But we did a little cool feature. We're adding the 3 between
Backwards. I like that.
instead of the E's, and that kind of gave it that little twist to where it was able to be trademarkable. And we did our trademark actually about a year and a half before we even launched our products, to make sure we are secured worldwide.
And so now
you started level 3. Before that, you were doing distribution. So you'd already developed a network of barbers and
Absolutely.
other companies that were already producing products. So you had kind of a lot of data
Yeah.
at your disposal before you got started. What did you do before that?
Before that, we had furniture stores, believe it or not. So
Wow.
we were in the furniture store game. We had three furniture stores, one in Woodfield Mall, one in Orland Mall, and then one in Fox Valley Mall, believe it or not, and then in Gurley Mills as well, actually. So four. And those were initially started by my brother Jay. He's our oldest brother, and he was always an entrepreneur in his life. And I was young at that time, and coming in and on the weekends and cleaning the floors and kind of opening up, organizing the store, and slowly started selling and
Yeah.
coming in on the weekends and cashing in a commission check and leaving back to high school, man. So yeah, it was we were always in the selling. We were always
You
salesmen at
were
heart.
high pressured selling, and
Absolutely.
because I know furniture guys do not get paid if you do not sell,
And
right?
especially in a mall, when people
Yeah.
are coming to buy a t-shirt and then you're flipping them to buy a couch,
Yeah, it's
it's really
I
hard
went
to
for
do.
$15 and you want me to spend 1,500,
Exactly,
right?
exactly, man. So it was a fun, nice challenge, but it was nice is that it gave you that customer experience that we always loved and wanted and made sure that we had at that time, where we can really communicate with customers directly, and it gave us that relationship to where whatever we were selling, it was the most important thing was the trust that they had with the person selling them the product,
Absolutely.
and that relationship that you can build with the customer. To your point, you're saying we started as built that relationship with the customers, to now we still retain a lot of those customers, is because they still believe in us. They know who we are. We didn't change. The product changed, but we didn't change as
Yeah.
people. So
So, I have so many questions because building a business with your family is both rewarding and difficult.
absolutely,
I mean, you know
definitely.
exactly what to say to piss your brothers off.
Oh yeah.
And they know equally what to say.
Yeah.
And when they really gets bad, I'm sure somebody talks to mom, and then that's a whole different conversation
Oh
now.
man, mom's gonna
So
be the mediator. Make
exactly,
sure everybody's playing good.
play nice
Yeah.
with one another. But tell me a little bit about your childhood, and in particular, what I'm interested in is your childhood aspirations, your
Yeah,
personal. But in your case, it may even be relevant to talk a little bit about what your brothers wanted to be and do. And
absolutely.
I asked that question from the perspective not only what you want to do for a living, but what did you want to be as a person?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit
Uh,
about what your
Childhood, my parents are immigrants. They came over to the U.S. in the '70s, so they've been here for a very long time. My dad was a biochemist engineer,
wow.
and unfortunately, due to circumstances with children and having us, he had to stop going to school and went out and started getting a job and opened up a restaurant. My mom, on the other hand, she opened up a school in Chicago, first Islamic school, so that was really nice. And then on top of that, my brother Jay has always been an entrepreneur, which led us to it. But me growing up, I always had a passion for architecture, believe it or not.
All right.
I loved architecture. I took CAD classes in high school to kind of try to, understand the back end of things. I love building things. That's my also part of my, hobbies. I got a whole DeWalt set at home where just, on the weekend or something like that,
You
try
were
to
the
build
Lincoln
something
Logs
cool.
kid, the
Yeah.
erector set, that kind of.
Definitely, man. I like dissecting things and figuring out the insides of them and how to fix them, how to build them, and go from there. So I would say, that kind of gave us the ability to always look at things. I don't want to just go buy something ready from a store. I want to make it. I want to be able to look at it and figure out how it's made.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what gave us that drive with level 3 is, all right, obviously it's not the first pomade or aftershave on the market or hairspray on the market, but we infused it with nice ingredients that really
Yeah.
fit us. We infused it in the right perfume that we love, that we did, like a toll, and people told us exactly what they liked on a smell aspect. And then price point for us was always important,
Yeah.
so making sure that our price point was competitive in the market, and we were able to offer a product that is not going to kill your pockets and charge you 30-40 bucks for something.
So, what's interesting to me is that often when, people come from situations where, your father being a biochemist, had to make a bunch of decisions to support the family, it can often give you a sense of limited.
Yeah.
Like, I'm limited to what I can do because I've really got to focus on one thing versus the next. I don't have the sense from you that you felt limited in any way in that regards. At the same time, you guys are hustlers and you were driven to figure a bunch of things out. how do you think both your experience with your mom and dad, and interesting actually, as I say this out loud, your mom, she's the entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
right? She built a school from
Yeah.
scratch,
Yeah.
and building a school is not something that people invest in.
No, not at
So,
all.
it's interesting as I said it out loud, I realized, it's not your dad, although he started a restaurant,
Yeah.
it's your mom
Yeah.
who's
It
the
is.
entrepreneur. But
It
just
is.
what were the experiences and exposures that you had from both your mother and your father they gave you the sense that this is possible?
Yeah.
And there may have been instances where they limited you because they may have said, you know what, I don't want you to be an entrepreneur like me. I want you to go to school and be an architect because that's at least a steady job. What was that kind of give and take?
My mom gave us that work ethic that I always see my mom working endlessly and tirelessly on things that I always look at. I'm like, Mom, what's the end goal here? What do you see? What are you trying to build? She's like, son, look, there's people that need this. This education here is not available. We need to provide it for people. We need to dig deep and work tirelessly, work while people are sleeping to be able to provide something that is not there. And that was kind of something that I looked at. I'm like, as a person, I never wanted to be a 9 to 5 person, let's say,
Yeah.
right? Or just have something fixed, go home, and my mind is at ease. I like to have a responsibility, and I think, let's say, from a perspective where working at such a young age gave me that drive and let me be able to have my own future in my own hands.
Yeah.
Because I was selling at the age of 13, 14. I was selling furniture, and I looked a little older than I was, so it helped me in my
Facial hair
sense.
helped a
Yeah,
lot, huh?
it helped a lot, man. And so people thought I was 18, 19, and they gave you that trust and let's say that confidence when you're going and selling something. So in my perspective, it always was like, all right, there's no ceiling to anything that you really can set a goal on.
Yeah.
And if you really want to have and achieve something in life, you can do it. There's really nobody or anything that can stop you from really reaching what you want. Obviously there's struggles of, let's say, financial struggles is
Right.
always something that people go through, or resources, or knowing the right people and things like that. But if you stay determined to something, and me and my brothers were really determined on making sure we were all in. My brother sold his house, and we were living, if we don't come back with selling product on the streets, we
There's
weren't
nothing to
eating.
eat. There's no eat. Yeah.
We weren't eating. So that was when you have your back against the wall like that, it puts it where I'm gonna walk into barbershops at 11 p.m. at night. I don't care. At that point, we were like, we need to sell.
I have no
So,
doubt that you were in some situations that you probably shouldn't have been in.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Selling
was-
hair care products of all things too.
It was, we had gun points at our head,
Yeah.
and we were walking in. Problem is, when you go to different states, you also don't know the neighborhoods you're in.
Right.
You enter the wrong neighborhood sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, all right, my
Yeah.
bad, guys. Let me walk back out.
Yeah.
And no harm, no foul.
Right. You didn't know that was a particular sign of the gang. That
Exactly.
particular shirt, no, you can't wear
Yeah,
that. Right.
exactly, man. So I mean, those are the things that put you in a situation to where right now, when you're looking at it 10, 15 years down the road, you're like, man, I don't know if the time went back and would I do all that again?
Yeah.
Who knows? It's we really worked our ass off, man. But it shows, and God bless, we have a beautiful brand that we can really call our own now.
So what's interesting to me is, so mom showed you how to work hard. She built something from scratch that
Yeah.
was necessary in the community. Your dad's a biochemist, but ends up having to do other things. But you guys end up spending your time in COVID basically, mimicking your dad. You're biochemistry. You're sitting there playing with a bunch of molecules and chemicals and stuff, for 6 months to come up with all these formulations. I'm sure at some point that must have hit you. I wonder how your dad felt, knowing that, to some degree, he kind of fostered this belief that you guys could go and create, all of this product.
It really funny you say that, man, because now as you're talking about it, I'm tying the knots together. Like, absolutely, our dad, is our number one fan when it comes to it. And what's beautiful about it is that we every time we develop a product, we go to him and we're like, Dad, here, try this. What do you
He
think?
still
of
has
this?
hair?
He has
All right.
beautiful hair, man. Believe it or not, thank God we got good genes when it comes to hair. And what's beautiful now is we were able to retire him out of his job, and he
That's
works with us
wonderful.
now full time. And he just comes in, does what he wants to do. He does not have a job description, and just loves being around his sons. But he's our we call him our R&D department.
Yeah.
He loves to really look at products, dig into it. Is this ingredient good? Is this not good? Son, I found a new product on the market that's really nice. You guys should look into it. So, wrapping things around it, it's beautiful. And my mom, till now she works endlessly, and her work ethic is, I would say, probably harder than ours. At 60 plus, she's just still going very hard, which gives me the drive that I can't stop. If my mom is willing to stay working at this age and doing what she's supposed to do and still influencing others, our job is way not done.
Well, one of the things, and one of the reasons I start with asking you about your childhood aspirations and dreams, is that often the driver is not what it appears to be on the surface. Right? There's an element that your mother could retire, but she chooses not to, because what's driving her is that work, right? And there's something about what you're doing that's driving you. My instinct is that the opportunity to work with your brothers is an important thing for you. And that's a driver. You could have chosen many other things. You're obviously very smart. The opportunity to kind of make good for your parents is a driver for you. What are some of the other underlying desires that you think might be driving you building this business that are not evident on the surface, but when you dig deeper are really drivers?
I would say one of our biggest drivers is not letting the people that believed in us down. And we have a team of about 25 that work in level 3 internally in our office, and of those, I would say approximately about 15 of them have been with us over 10 years plus.
That's amazing.
From our previous business and transferring over into level 3. And when I look into that, those families all depend on us.
That's right.
All those people depend on us. Those people are not just employees or team members.
They're family.
They're family.
Yeah.
They're family. So the roots really dig deep with us. And that's really, as I look into everybody and I see everybody coming into work and that I can't fail. And I cannot have them fail because obviously, everybody depends on it. And when it comes to it, you have that responsibility at the top of the food chain, and it puts a lot of stress on you. But at the same time, it makes you want to work twice as hard, brother. And it's different when it comes to you having that responsibility. Then other than the people that are coming in at the warehouse, for example, they leave. They can enjoy their day,
right?
And it's a whole different ball game when it comes to it. But that's really one of the drivers. The second driver is we have a niche, let's say, position in our market to where there is really not a brand like us that is really penetrating the industry that hard, that fast.
Explain what's different about your niche.
Absolutely. The niche is one, having an A to Z catalog. We offer over 150 different items that we sell at level 3, and it covers so many different sectors, from hair items to accessories to now we released a color line. We have our gloves, which are really, really nice. One of our best-selling items is our nitrile gloves. So when we walk into a barbershop, we're able to offer a full array of products that maybe takes 5-6 other brands to make up that in one catalog that we offer.
Yeah, that color line, honestly, you need to get that right in line with the Premier League.
Yeah.
Right? Every single soccer player who's got color in their hair should be buying level 3.
Absolutely, man.
For the record.
Yeah, those are the things that we try to work on now on sponsorships and working with ambassadors and things like that. But the other thing that sets us apart from others is our price point. We're very competitive. We're not a super high purchase price. We're not obviously pennies on the dollar. We're definitely an economical price point to where value we offer value on a size aspect as well. So we want to be available to the masses. We don't want to be available to the 1% of the world. And then lastly is the quality of our products. We really invest very heavily in the quality of our products, making sure we offer good ingredients, good smelling. We smell good as a brand, which is very important. We love to smell good. Nobody wants
and
a
you
bad
do smell
smelling
good
bread.
For the record. You on the listening can't know, but yes, he does.
Thank you, brother. That's our new level 3 cologne coming soon.
There you go.
Watch out, guys. It's gonna be launched in a couple months. But that's kind of the 3 cores. And then lastly is our marketing that we do. We have a beautiful marketing team that really does an amazing job. We have over 15 million combined followers on social media between all of our platforms and our ambassadors. And that's what really pushes our campaign out there. We on Instagram, Facebook is endless amount of campaigns on there. And then on top of that, we do about 50 trade shows a year.
Yeah.
So We travel
Last time I saw
worldwide.
you, you were just about to go to a trade
Yeah,
show, I
we
think.
just 2 weeks ago we had one right here in Rosemont.
Yeah,
Actually, we did our beautiful ABS show that out of the world.
yeah,
So we invest heavily in our brand, where usually other companies that, let's say, are not ran by the people that own it, are just ran, let's say, by venture capitalists or people that are just looking at numbers. They would cut budgets and make sure, "Oh, why are we doing 50 trade shows? Let's cut that to 10 trade shows and keep more
yep.
money in our pocket." But they don't understand that those other 40 trade shows that they missed out on are really keeping your brand relevant
Well, so
and
that's
pushing
a
it out
great
there.
segue into one of the most difficult questions that entrepreneurs always have, which
Yeah,
is, do I take outside money?
yeah,
And for a company like yours, it's even more complicated because, like you said, over 50% of the people in your company are either technically or like family.
yeah.
So when you're thinking about the loss of potential control because someone is invested in you, it's a very different
It is.
issue. At the same time, um, you know, to grow at scale requires a level of capital that is very difficult to do organically and for friends and family. And so there's always this push pull
Yeah.
between, do I take outside money? How do you guys think about that concept? Do I take outside money? And if you did, who would you take it from?
One thing about level 3 that's really nice is those employees that I told you about. I don't want to call them employees. I'll call them team members
Yeah,
and family. We actually gave each of them equity in our company
that's
because
amazing.
we
Yeah,
we we want to make sure the message is
everybody's aligned.
ethical throughout the entire way. They didn't just work their ass off and really put in the countless amount of hours. They also have skin in the game. So at an endpoint as well, if there's an endpoint to it, they also receive a nice reward.
Yeah,
But to your point, when you ask, is it good to receive outside or let's say venture capitalist money? To in a company like ours, what drives our company the most is us leading it, and us knowing exactly what the company needs from a spending aspect, from a marketing aspect, from a purchasing aspect, and so many different factors that go into it, to where sometimes when you receive funding, and a big amount of funding from capitalists, or big banks, they want to control your company.
yeah.
They want to control big decisions that you can take in your company, and sometimes they want to control your bank account. They want to control, every in and out and things like that, and that can really strain a company on a day-to-day basis. Managing the company on a day-to-day basis, which is my job, um, having that freedom to make decisions on the fly, and what I have the gut for, or what I see, and my analytics tell me to do, is what keeps us driving and keeps our success growing. And that's really something that, for me, would put my hands in handcuffs
Yeah.
and really make it really hard for me to do my job.
So it's tough, right? Because there are experience sets that sometimes capital can bring to the table that
Yeah,
you won't have, right? If you were in the process of wanting to sell your business, it's often beneficial to have someone as an investor who's been through that process many times.
very true.
They understand what you need to do to set up to get your business sold. They can understand how you think about the process of having people compete to buy your business. But at the same time, they're going to have a view about who you should sell to, how much you should sell for, that
Exactly.
may or may not be aligned with you. And there's a give and take. It's not
It is.
it's much more art than it is a science.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
a really important point.
Just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for listening, for letting us be a small part of your day, and for joining in these conversations that matter. This podcast isn't just ours, it's yours. We'd love for you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join our community where you can share your own journey, your wins, and your lessons. And if there's someone whose story you think we should hear, tell us. We're listening. Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit not just about the capital, but this idea of, are you building an empire or are you building something that's designed to make you money? And those things don't have to be mutually exclusive, but
Sure.
often they are positioned that way, because typically the types of companies that would, build an empire, um, they also typically build organically. They typically take less private money and much more kind of sweat equity.
Sure.
Whereas those businesses that right off the bat believe that they're going to sell are better positioned, not guaranteed, to actually get private capital. And that in turn leads them in a place where they often can think about buying lines of product versus starting them. When you guys have thought about those two things, again, they're not mutually exclusive,
No.
but how have you tended towards one versus the next, and why?
Definitely, we are in the business of building an empire, 100%. Level 3 is not just a product line. I wanna definitely expand it into multiple different sectors, and it doesn't have to just be wet products or accessories, or even in the barber game. It can expand to a clothing brand. It can expand to a tool brand. It can expand to so many different things that we can really make, expand our wings and have it as
Yeah.
a full lifestyle brand. When I look at companies that in our industry as well have came in, ran it for 2 years, put a shitload of money in it,
Right.
and then sold it. Look at those brands now; they don't exist in our market
Mhm.
because there was no soul behind it. And when there's no soul behind the brand, then what is it? It's just another product on shelf.
Yeah.
You can have gold inside that box, but if nobody's willing to, if you didn't do your job for them to open it, who's going to know there's gold in it?
Right.
And that's kind of what we have worked on really hard. Is you have to have a soul behind it. Like I told you, we retain almost 80% of our customers when we transitioned from just selling regular products to selling level 3, is because they believed in the people that were
And you,
selling it.
yeah.
And
It wasn't the product they
it
were
wasn't the
buying, it was
product. The
you.
product obviously did its job by it being a good product, but it wasn't the sole catcher or grabber of that sale. It was the people that were behind it. And that's kind of when you look at so many things now, and you before you even look at, should I buy this, should I buy that, who's behind it, who's not behind it. And that's kind of where, when we're looking at, definitely we are in the empire building, business building, but as well, we all want to make money, and we definitely want to make money. We're not in here to live paycheck to paycheck, of course.
Right.
We have a healthy lifestyle, but at the same time, we understand that sometimes it might take risks, and it might take you not taking that big paycheck now and infusing more capital into your business because your business requires it. The people that are working with you depend on you to make those decisions, and that's kind of what really drives us as a brand.
So really interesting. You made this point that when you transition from your distribution company to level 3, where you've produced your own crafted product, that people stayed with you because they believed in you.
Yeah.
And some of it, I'm sure, was that you formulated a product that was really strong and
Absolutely.
competitive to what you sold. And a lot of it was because they had already developed a relationship with you, so they could actually convince people,
Sure.
hey, this product is, if not as good, better than what you had, but you really are buying from me.
Yeah.
It begs the question, would you consider buying other brands that you add into this universe of products that you're creating? And how would you evaluate which products are worthy of your stamp, right?
Sure.
Worthy of you telling those same 80% of the customers that you retained, hey, this new product that I just bought, you want to get down with this product too, because
Absolutely.
X, Y, and Z. How would you even think about, what does a product have to look like? What does a product have to do to be worthy of you putting your name on it? Especially if it's maybe not even called level 3, but it's
Yeah.
called something else.
That's a very nice question, because we always look into also, obviously, as being a brand in the market, you want to look at your competitors, and what do your competitors do? What are other companies doing? And when it comes to it, if instead of developing it under level 3, I want to go buy a company that's already ready to go. It matters for me, one, obviously the people that are behind it.
Yeah.
Who's behind it, and what are their motives, and what drives them, and what is it that they're in the game for? Are they just, like you said, to make money, or are they in there to really make a product that makes a difference? Two, how is that product different than something that I offer?
Right.
Obviously, it's competition is healthy. We can have a styling powder that is $20 on retail and mine is $10
Right.
on retail, right? And it doesn't mean that neither I'm gonna lose sales to mine because I offered a different one. It just means that I'm offering something that has a little bit different of a, whether it's a performance, whether it's a price point, whether it's a quality. And then I would say the most important thing that I really care about is, how can I be able to have it accessible to people in a distribution level worldwide?
Right.
That was something that we had to face as a challenge to level 3, is okay, we're very successful in the US, but how can I expand to 40 countries
Right.
and distribute it and have the right manufacturing capacity,
Hmm.
have the right funding, the budgets, everything needed for that. And that's where, logistical hubs are super important. We have a logistical hub in Turkey where we ship to our international market,
Right.
and we have our Chicago hub where we ship to our local market. And having those two things are super important, because you want to make the last thing you want to do is have a product that's hot and then out of stock.
Yeah.
you know
It's not
okay,
available.
it's good that sometimes it goes out of stock. That's fine, because it shows that it's obviously selling, but it does not mean that
But when
you don't
it's
want to
not on the shelf, you lost that sale,
You
and
lost that
you
sale.
risk the fact that somebody buys another product.
Exactly.
It's really interesting. I've had the advantage of working on a lot of different types of businesses, and in the space that you're in, the way that the largest cosmetics companies in the world operate is they have kind of formulators that are located in all different types of countries,
Yeah.
and they have a different set of sales, right? So there's a sales force that goes to the formulation that is in any particular company. There's kind of a wholesale group that's selling,
Sure.
and then there's sometimes sales that are direct.
Yeah.
You are in this space where it could be a lot of different folks. I've actually consulted with some companies in this space, and one of the things that I've warned them against is that the population of people that sell to these kind of beauty care products is actually an older, younger group. So it's easier to get those folks, but they move around quite a bit. You actually started your company at a sales and distribution level.
Yeah.
That gives you an advantage that is not true for most of the folks that are in the cosmetic business. Most people in the cosmetic business, they started formulating a product
Very true.
that they then went and said, this is better than everybody else.
Yeah.
But all of the work is done at that distribution level.
It is.
I could envision for you, and this is spitballing right here on this show, right? Which is, there are more people who probably want to get into your distribution cycle, right?
Absolutely.
Than there are companies that you necessarily want to put your name to. And that's where a lot of that tension is going to come from.
100%.
People will pay you a lot to actually leverage your distribution team, and maybe even compete with the idea of you buying another product to add to this.
100%. I mean, to your point, as we were growing, obviously you wanna be able to sell your products into different channels and different stores. But when we realized that, okay, I can't go to Sally Beauty and knock on Sally Beauty's door and sell store by store, right? You have to go to their headquarters.
Right.
You have to have a full distribution rollout into their distribution centers, and then their distribution centers send to the stores. So those learning cycles for us were super important. And usually what a lot of brands do as well is they go to sales reps. There's sales rep companies
Yeah.
that take your product, they pitch it to 10, 15 different distributors, and the distributor takes it. But then there's no soul to the brand. It's
Yeah.
just another product on shelf, and you're relying solely on that one rep. How good is his pitch to that
To get you shelf space.
to get you shelf space?
Yeah,
Exactly.
to get you
Where
shelf space.
we, and in our perspective, we control our distribution in our own hand. Where we have a sales force that calls on barbershops, over 25,000 barbershop accounts that we work with. On top of that, we have our sales force internally that works with over 5,000 beauty supply stores nationwide. So dealing with that individually, you're not at somebody's beck and call,
Yeah.
or at somebody's, decision whether they move the product or his sales guy showed up to work or not. You have your own future in your hand. And with the pace that we're growing at, you have to control it that way, or else, you won't have enough of a, let's say, one is actually cash flow is very important for your business.
Very.
Consistent revenue is very important. So if you don't control your own distribution, you really are just, you're shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. It's super, super important to control your distribution.
Yeah.
Very, very, very big factor.
So one of the reasons that you're here is because we at the Southland Development Authority had developed a relationship with you early on.
Yeah.
Back during COVID days,
Right.
We actually worked with you to help you guys secure some of the funding that you did during COVID, which was absolutely needed. And we've developed that relationship. But talk a little bit about what your experience has been working, not just with the SDA, but compare us even to other regional economic development groups, because I'm sure we're not the only group that you've ever talked to.
Sure.
But give us a sense and be completely honest about
Yeah.
how we've engaged with you, what's been good, what's been different than what you've expected or experienced in other places, and what that relationship has looked like over the now almost 4 years that we've
Yeah.
worked together.
what's really nice, I think, was very enticing for me coming from, let's say, when we moved over to Park Forest. We were always renting, and we were renting in Ridgeview and in different areas, and we actually purchased our building in Park Forest, and that's where we actually got introduced to the SDA. Is the SDA actually helped us as well work on getting a Class A exemption on our building, which helped us reduce our taxes. And everybody that we worked with really was, super welcoming. And I think that was like, from my perspective, when you think of people working at a economic development or at City Hall or something, you think of some mean people, and
Yeah.
they're like, they're not there to help you. They just want to, they're clock in, clock
Process
out, and
everything, yeah.
process, and and push you off to the side. And when I seen the opposite, it was really let's say welcoming, and it made me feel like, okay, cool. These are people that I can actually call on and rely on, and discuss different matters that I didn't have these resources before. And then I was able to actually get introduced through a very good law firm from your guys' side. He's actually a very, I call him a unicorn.
Yeah, he's a
because
lawyer and an
yeah,
accountant,
a
right?
lawyer and an accountant. And Stanley was a really great person that helped us also structure our business in the
Yeah.
right way.
I will
Um,
just say about Stanley Jackson, who
yeah.
deserves his own credit here. He was one of our first relationship managers
Oh wow.
that
Very
actually we
nice.
hired back in 2020 during COVID to actually make sure that we kept as many businesses in the Southland open
Sure.
during that COVID period.
Yeah.
And then we were able to reconnect him, although he didn't work for us anymore. We were able to reconnect him to him, and he's worked with you now for the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's worked with us very nicely. We've done a great job together on many things: structure, organization, legalization, making sure everything is done in the correct way, and we have our correct contracts, and you know, so many different areas where we needed that arm that we can rely on. And obviously, through the SDA as well, they were able to help us with a budget and things like that for working on certain projects. So it's been amazing, honestly, brother. And we've been talking on many new projects that we
Yep.
want to work with together, and an expansion in the Southland region. And I think there's a lot of opportunity that we can really do together.
Well, we're excited, and you're one of the groups that we really think highly of, not only because you're well run and you guys have great character, but we think that you guys actually are going to do very well for yourselves and make a lot of
Thank you,
money.
man.
I want to take a second to reflect on your journey. And so I have three questions that
Sure.
I'll ask of you, and maybe a fourth, just given some circumstances. So many businesses think all they need is money. And you and I had talked earlier, and money is usually important, but never the only reason.
No.
But if you only had money um, earlier or in a different way, what might you have done differently in your business that would have been helpful to you?
It's money is that evil and
Yeah,
best friend
it's
at the
it's
same
a
time,
double-edged
right?
sword,
It's a
right?
double-edged sword. I would say money would have helped us definitely be able to uh, cut some steps ahead of time and be able to expand faster. But at the same time, when I look at it now, sometimes expansion too fast is not the best thing. So the method of you can't walk before you crawl,
Right.
right? And you can't run before you walk. Those are things that, as I look at it now, God has a plan for everything, and sets the right setting for you. Um, Expanding too fast it's good because sometimes you can sell a lot, but at the same time, can you sustain that growth?
Right.
And that growth, the sustainability of that growth sometimes can put you out of business,
Yeah.
because if you can't really sustain that growth, then you're good
As
as
good as
as
dead.
as, as dead.
You know,
So
it's funny. I spent my time when I was in business school focusing and learning a lot about the sustainable growth equation,
yeah,
right? Which basically tells you how fast can you grow in your top line sales without changing the other underlying economics of your business,
sure,
right? You can change asset turnover rate, you can change your leverage rate, you can change your levels of profitability or the degree to which you distribute dividends. But if you are going to grow faster than whatever that calculated sustainable growth rate is, you have to change one of those things. You either
that's
have to
very
become
true.
more profitable, you have to take on more
Debt
debt or
or
equity,
equity.
right? Or you have to turn over your assets faster. And a lot of people don't recognize that when they say 80% of the businesses die because they grow too fast, it's because they violate that sustainable
rule.
growth law.
Yeah.
And typically the reason they die is because they are growing so fast, they need so much cash, and they can't raise that money from debt. They have to raise it from equity. And the equity market may or may not be there for them, or the equity may be so expensive that they choose not to use it, and then they get in the cash flow
And
difficulty.
they sell a majority of their company.
Right.
Or, you know, sometimes your company, obviously there's right methods of valuation, but at the end of the day, it's what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Right.
You know,
That's what everything is worth, what somebody's willing to pay.
Exactly. So if nobody's willing to pay and give you that right valuation, then you're as good as done.
So another reflection question is, you know, if only I had the right people, I might have done X differently.
Yeah.
If you could have found the right people, and that's not to suggest that the people you have today are not right, but there are people that maybe you could have used. What would be different about your business? And what type of person would you have needed maybe at a different stage that could have helped you?
Well, you know, like I told you before, I have a very amazing team that works with us. And from my brothers, my extended brothers in sales and in operation and in graphic department, in accounting and warehousing, the list goes on and on. We have a beautiful team that really I would never change anything in that equation.
Yeah.
On top of that, though, I would say definitely the thing that would have helped us more is the outside relationships that could have accelerated for us processes of entering bigger distribution channels.
Yeah.
Like, for example, entering Sally Beauty, people think you can just go into Sally Beauty and offer them a product. It really does not work that way. You have to go in, you take a meeting, you have to wait for them to have a
They've got their
planogram
own
reset.
process. Yeah.
And then after, if that buyer accepts you, you have to,
Then
you're
they
probably
test.
into 2026.
Yeah, they test you a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't tell you when
They
they're going
don't
to
give you a
re-up the
nationwide
product.
rollout.
Right. That's right.
They give you X amount of stores to test in, and then if that test does good, then you go into the next batch of testing, and it could go up to a 3 to 5 year process sometimes. So those things that I wish we would have just started earlier in our life and established those relationships, then really establishing it, let's say 3-4 years later than it did happen. So other than that, I really think you know we have an amazing team.
So the last reflection question is about partnership. And in your instance, you've got multiple partners in your family, but in addition, there could be outside partners. If only I had the right partner, what would you either have done differently in the past, or would you do differently going forward?
You know, with partners comes, let's say, personalities and egos. You know, and one thing that's really nice about me and my brother's relationship is we all have egos, obviously, but we all know which lane is ours. And I handle my lane the way I'm supposed to be. My other brother does, and my other brother does it the same way. So we don't really step on each other's toes, which is super important when it comes to partnerships.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, nobody wants to be micromanaged and set and, you know, what are you doing every day, and what's this, what's that.
It's not fun.
So it's not fun. So when it comes to partners, the only way that we would accept the partnership, it has to be a strategic partnership, something that adds value to our company, and it does not just add dollars. Dollars are one thing, that's great, but banks also give you dollars, and they don't come with strings attached.
Right.
So that's where it's super important is partners. It has to be someone that can add value and add strengths to your company.
So we want to end around personal fulfillment, and one of the things that's really important is that there's through lines usually for people between what their underlying desire was when they were a child, the businesses that they are running today, and what actually drives personal fulfillment. And personal fulfillment is typically not driven by wealth, fame, or success. But I believe it's driven by agency, the ability for you to take control, to move in the direction of satisfying that underlying desire.
Very true.
Just as you think about your own personal fulfillment, and you think about the history and the family and the work that you do, what do you think is that driving line for you, and where are you in that process in terms of your own sense of personal fulfillment?
I think we still haven't scratched the surface, brother. When I get to it, we are our worst critics when it comes to, you know, where we are in growth and where we want to be. Because obviously, you know, when you look at it from outside and how people think of Level 3 and where they see it, they see us. It's a nice size brand. But when I look at it internally, of course, we're growing at a beautiful pace and we have a nice brand. But I still see we could do so much more.
Yeah.
We have, and when you feel comfortable in what you do in life, then you really need to check yourself, because comfortability comes with a
Yeah,
price,
it can come with complacency.
Exactly. It does, because you have to be able to always be humble. I don't I When it comes to me, I don't care what the job is. I'm willing to sweep floors, to build things, to go to production, to go to fulfillment, whatever it needs to do to make sure that the job gets done. And you have to have that motive as an owner, because there's no job that's
Too
too
small.
hard.
Yeah.
That's too small or too hard or anything like that. And I feel that we are really just at the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more room to growth. We're young, we're humble, we're hustlers, and I think, with a nice conversation between us, we're gonna do some really nice
We
things,
are.
man.
We
We're
are.
we're gonna do some really nice things. I think there's a lot of room to growth. We're in a great opportunity zone where we have really a big ability to do anything we can. And being in the US, there's nothing too hard to do, man.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This was
Absolutely, brother.
fantastic.
Thank you for taking
Appreciate it
the
very
time
much.
bringing me here, man.